sun's shining, my soul has died, and Barry's given up.
Hello and welcome to The Boy and the Bear. Celtic are officially champions of Scotland for a 55th time, extending their trophy haul over Rangers 120 to 118. Has it realistically been over since November? Are there any positive Rangers fans can drum up? First of all, Pat, I'm sure I speak for myself and Scotty. Congratulations to Celtic, Brendan and his Gucci belt. I imagine you're a happy boy.
Buzzing. This feeling doesn't get old, and one day, like Cal McGregor said, this is all going to be over, and it's not going to be like this supporting your team, so you just need to enjoy it while you've got it. And it's a feeling that never gets old. It's brilliant.
They got a little bit like just the exact same as winning the first or second one.
Each title is different. Each title's got its own narrative. This has been a weird season, but I think Celtic have hopefully, it all being well, will break the record for the amount of goals that we've scored in a season. We played some amazing stuff at the start of the season, maybe had a little dip, but we really turned it back on in recent weeks. So yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, all good, Scotty?
Great. Fantastic. Honestly, just absolutely brilliant. This is why I do this podcast with you two boys. Just brilliant. Sun's shining, my soul has died, and Barry's given up. I mean, what a time to be a Rangers fan. So yeah, I'm good. But how are you boys? I seen that you guys were in Napoli for the old football trip. So how was that?
That was amazing, wasn't it?
That was unbelievable, mate. I just throw salt on your wounds even further, mate. It was superb.
Yeah, I just trying to avoid talking about my team.
I'll give you one compliment. You have produced some player in Billy Gilmore. It was very good, mate. It was very good. And now straight on to compliments, and it should be a fairly straightforward one for you, Scotty. So I'm going to let you get out of your misery. Yes, on you go, mate.
Compliment. I mean, there's only one thing to say, isn't there? So congratulations on winning the league and tying the record. So
thank you, Scotty.
Congratulations. That's it. Scott has now gone away from the podcast. This is over.
What was more painful, them equaling the league total or equaling and then extending their overall trophy haul?
I think extending the overall trophy haul. I think that's a tough one to take. It was a long-standing record. I mean, and now it's just
it's something Rangers fans completely made up. So,
it's really not, mate. But
Tifo's in the bin for a while. Paddy boy.
The compliment. I think mathematically Rangers secured second place yesterday. So you've got the. I know. I'm just. I promise. I do actually try, but I mean, at least that means that there is some Champions League qualification for you guys to look forward to in the summer. Yep. If the takeover does happen, maybe that's what better place to start and what better momentum you could get by getting into the Champions League. But
I think
take it from we both know, Scott, how brutal these qualification games can be early in the season, and Celtic also are now going to have to go through the same thing. And I'm not entirely like there's going to be teams like Bodo Glimt and Feyenoord in there. There's horrible ties to be playing right at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's not ideal, especially if you're maybe like us. We're going to be integrating a whole new team. So
you do that every season.
Yeah, no, this is the rebuild point, mark 53 or something.
Well, I'd actually like to compliment you, Scott, because absolutely fair play turning up for these for every single episode for the last 2 years. Because, good God, how many of them have actually been enjoyable? 3, maybe 4. And do you know what's funny? Actually, sorry, the only one you missed is when you actually Rangers beat Celtic because you were on holiday.
Yeah.
Well, you might get to make up for that next week, Scotty, because there could be another Ibrox scudding coming up. This Rangers team apparently only turns up in the biggest games. Yeah, it's so weird.
Well, I mean, we can talk about that later on, but it's like the whole Atletico Bilbao thing. We didn't concede a goal against. We're down to 10 men for large parts of the game, and then we go and concede 2 versus every team we've played in the league.
Is that a fact? Is that a stat?
Yeah, it's basically it's a 2-0 since Barry's come in. We've literally shipped 2 goals before we've even started getting a goal. So to go from a Europa League position of getting to the quarterfinals, holding a team like Bilbao to 0-0, for large parts, and then we concede 2 goals to St Mirren and Motherwell, other teams. I mean, it's like Dundee. It's just that's with playing five at the back as well. It's quite something. So, it's great, honestly. So yeah,
Scott, like I do actually echo Stevie's thoughts. Like, fair play to you turning up every episode and fighting your team's corner. If the Rangers team had half the fight that you've got, I mean, geez,
would be all right. Like, yeah.
It's fine though, makes Pat's a really humble winner, so he'd never bring it up to you.
No. Pat and a brag? No.
No. And keeping it on that topic, your coming piece for Scott, please, Pat.
My coming piece question is that, I think we'll all agree money is important in football. It's what separates, Celtic from the bigger European teams. It's what separates, the smaller Scottish clubs from realistically competing. But I think what Celtic have demonstrated over the last, 2 decades really is that mentality is just as, if not more important. And you've sort of alluded to that with St Rangers kept Bilbao to a clean sheet, and yet the mentality slips every time they play domestically. So are Rangers fans falling into the trap of thinking that a takeover equals success, when actually, Celtic started this period of domination from a position of complete underdog, financially and on the pitch as well? I think there's maybe a wee bit of overexcitement happening.
I disagree with your comment about overexcitement. I think when you've been in the position that we've been in as a fan base for large parts, we got obviously all this, the hype and stuff about having Gerrard and putting a stop to 10 in a row, and then it's like we're in that perfect position. We've just won the league. That everyone's on board. The direction of the club is going up and up. We've got this new museum, things that's going to generate an extra bit of money. Well, that was the plan at the time. Do you mean it was like, so we've got this museum, club shop, we're going to have a bar, we're going to make the stadium itself was getting improvements. So it's like there was a lot of
who's going to that museum?
Tourists. But no, my point is, I'm saying when that was announced,
be fine, guys. We've got a museum.
Museum generates $1 million a year. We've got this. This pays for Cyril Dessler's wage. But
we're going to play at Hampden next season. They've got a museum as well.
But that's I was just about to get to that. What I'm saying is, like, so you're in that position where you've got all these good things to look forward to, right? And then the board go, well, we don't need to spend any money, and we'll start shortchanging the manager. So then that's why Gerrard left, right? And then we bring in Gio, does a fantastic job of getting us to the Europa League final, right? That's nobody. I don't think anyone saw that coming. So a great position there. And then he was also shortchanged. He wasn't given the funds to go.
Spent a lot of money though.
He spent a lot of money, mate. Do you think it all started because Gerrard? And I mean, you said Gerrard left because of the money. Gerrard didn't leave because of the money. He left because Aston Villa offered him a job.
No. What I mean is, he left. I think he left because he was wanting to progress the team. He was wanting to go out and buy the next iteration.
I know it's Scottish football in general. Like that's why Brendan Rodgers left first time round as well. Realistically, like you're always going to have that. And in realistic terms, Rangers have spent a lot of money. We have, and I'm kind of building to this. So what I'm saying is, like, build on.
Thank you. So it's like you've come from this position where you've got some good managers that have done good things, like Gerrard winning the league, Gio getting us to the Europa League, and then we go for the novice manager, Michael Beale. The structure of the club.
I told you so.
No. But what I'm meaning is, if you look at, like, from Gio's time, right? He got us to the Europa League and then wasn't gifted any extra money to go out and buy actual quality. He was shortchanged in that regards.
Now the money wasn't there, or because
I don't know. I maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was. I don't. Maybe they were tying it into this, like, the stadium redevelopment fund. I don't know, right? But it should have been the priority. Should have been back the manager. Like, well, the money was available for Beale the next season, to a tune of 20 million, right?
That's a crazy appointment.
It is mental, right? So you've given Beale, a novice manager, £20 million, but you've given a guy, you give the guy who got you to the Europa League peanuts in comparison, right? So it all started from there. The board appointments, promoting within has proven to be a bit of a disaster. Like promoting James Bisgrove outside of a station. We've had a few other appointments in terms of the academy, a similar situation. And I think from an internal point of view, that's why Rangers are so mental on the part, because there's not a clear, cohesive structure to actually allow success and performance. It's just been like, oh, jobs to the boys, pals, act, like, you're a good guy, I'll give you the promotion kind of thing. And it's like, well, are you capable, or are you actually at the required level to take the club forward?
So are you getting overexcited? Because it might be the exact same with new
Well,
owners.
this is. I was just getting to that. I'm going to wrap up on point. Obviously, I think the reason people are getting excited is because this is a professional, global entity of sports. It's not just football. It's American football. They're into other areas of sports management and marketing. So they're a multi-billion-pound company, and I think that's what's exciting, is that we're now going to hopefully be run like an actual proper operating club, with the right structure, the right people in place who actually know what they're doing. They've got the experience and the skill set to take on this huge task for this huge institution of football, right? And I think that's where the excitement. It's not necessarily. I think if you ask any level-headed fan, it's not a case of the 49ers group and Andrew Kavanagh are going to come in and just throw a blank check and say, "Here you go and fix it."
Yeah, go and win the league. That's what
yeah,
I mean.
go and win.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it realistic to think Rangers can win the league next season?
I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility. I don't. I think it needs a good recruitment.
Of course it's not. No, of course it's
I
not.
think it needs a good recruitment. We've proven this year, right, that we can beat Celtic. We've beaten them, it was a point I maybe mentioned to you before. It's like, since we last met you and we beat you on Barry's first, you guys have dropped 14 points in that time.
Yep.
Right. So had we been a bit more successful at beating the other teams of the league, the points gap would be nowhere near. It would be a lot closer, and I think that's why I'm not saying it's out of the realms of possible. I think we can win the league next year. It just depends on recruitment. I don't think it's too far flung to say, if Rangers go out and have a successful recruiting period, get the right players, promote the good youth that we've got as well, bring them into the squad, have a good structure, it's not impossible. So I think that's where the excitement comes from, is that we're now maybe going to start operating like an actual football club. Like you guys have this good structure. You're profitable. You sell your players at the right time. You buy, whereas we don't. We've held on to players like the Morelos and Kents.
That was generally going to be my point, because it all gets pointed to managers and maybe not spending, etc. I actually think your biggest downfall was letting your best players leave for free.
Yeah,
instead
absolutely.
Instead of applying a business model. Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos, for whatever Celtic fans think about them, should have went 2 years earlier for 15.
Absolutely.
And you would have had the best part of £30 million in the bank.
Yeah.
Plus you kept on to their wages. Plus then you overpaid wages on other players. So you let your two best players out of the building for free.
Yep.
And then you kept all your, not duds, but you kept a lot of boys who shouldn't have been at that club on longer contracts.
Yeah, and we're paying overinflated wages, and then it's like, it's now coming back to bite us in the backside. Yes. So,
but anyway, Scotty, your turn for the coming piece to Pat, please.
So my coming piece to you, Paddy boy, is obviously Rodgers made the comment that he's 200% here next year. Now, we've seen this storyline before. He says he's going to be there and then disappears. Do you think there is truth to the matter that he will be here next year, or do you think if he gets a better offer in the summer, he'll be away?
Yeah, it's a fair question. I think, and I know the reason you're asking it, obviously, is set within the context that Rodgers bailed on us halfway through a season a while ago, but he was definitely much more unhappy around the time he left that season, after replacing players like Sinclair, Yusuf Malumbu coming in from Kilmarnock. It's a fair question to ask. On face value, I think I fully expect Rodgers to be here next season, and I fully support Rodgers being here next season. If he's already won the double, if he goes on to win the Scottish Cup, you just can't replace a manager that's won you a treble, and he fully deserves a chance to make marks in Europe again with Celtic next season. I think it's again, Scott, like with Rangers, it all comes down to investment, and I hope Rangers do get bought over and taken over, and I hope that the 49ers heavily invest in the Rangers team, because I think that will be a key factor in Celtic investing as well. Hopefully a bit of a wake-up call, we can't sit and rest on our laurels here. We need to invest in our team as well. I think having that financial rivalry will hopefully spur the Celtic board on to be much more shrewd in the market and also improve our team. So I think Rodgers will be here.
Do you think that a lot of it comes down to the new Champions League format as well. I mean, it's a lot more enjoyable because there's obviously 2 extra games, but you also play a lot of teams that you're expecting to kind of beat or like have a better competition with, rather than turn up to Real Madrid every second week. So
yeah, it's a better format in terms of progression, but as we've already mentioned in this episode, we're not guaranteed entry into it anymore. So like if there are plans to upgrade the squad and do a refresh, then I hope there's conversations happening already. Because
do you know the problem with Scottish football when it comes to that, Pat? And it'll be interesting if we can have this conversation again come August. Usually Celtic and Rangers strengthen very late in transfer windows when they haven't
down. Yeah.
when they haven't qualified, because they don't know the monetary effects of if they don't or they do. I always, Scotty, we were at the game when Gerrard ran down the touchline and when you beat that Polish team, because the next day you signed Ryan Kent.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And you can understand it from a board's point of view, but it's not great for the game.
No.
Which leads us perfectly on, boys, is that, and this is genuinely a question for both of you, and I'm only speaking as a neutral here. It's getting a bit boring now, isn't it? It's. I mean, I haven't spoke to many people out with of Celtic fans who, and obviously I did because we do this podcast, and but that actually watched Celtic win the league yesterday, that really cared about it or thought, oh, I want to see Celtic do that, or where do you stand on it, Scott? I'm going to come to you first. I mean, it's not, and my stance is that it's not Celtic's fault. I mean, the other teams have got to pick up that. Dundee United yesterday was in 5-0 at home. I don't care who you are. 5-0 at home.
They're chasing third place.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
They just fucking given up, you know.
Yeah, you would love to have seen like 1-1, like, and then going into the final 5 minutes, and can Celtic go and get a goal that wins them? Like that's exciting. It's not so much 5-0.
A point would have won us the league, but I get you.
Would it? But you know what I mean. Like,
yeah,
it's just a bit like,
but put up more of a fight. You know what I mean? Like, make it more enjoyable as expected. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think you're right. I think it is. But I mean, for me, it's incredibly annoying to watch.
A slow form of torture.
It's honestly, it's like getting. Like, you're just like pinned your eyes, and you're like, I have to watch this. I don't want to watch it, but I have to because it's my team, right? And it's so, for a Rangers fan, for myself, I hate it, because obviously your rivals are winning, rub it in your face, and they're now taking over the trophy hall, and they've now got more trophies than we do, right? That's hurt, that's the hurting part of watching your team and supporting and having a rivalry with somebody else. But I think from a neutral point of view, and to try and get new sponsors or new fans to Scottish football, it must be boring, because it's like, Celtic are winning the league, and then I turn it on, and this would be quite nice. Someone chasing third, someone going for first, and being able to win, and the team chasing third can't be bothered to put up a fight and just go, it's your day, guys, and it's, I think that's boring, and I think it is kind of damaging the game. Whereas, say, for instance, Aberdeen had kept up their early form, or
it's funny looking back on that, when we were actually debating if the Rangers were even going to finish second.
Yeah. But obviously they fell off a cliff, right? Like, that's a squad depth from them. But like, say Hibs, if they didn't have such a disastrous start, it might have been a bit more interesting, because it probably would have put us under a lot more pressure. And from my point of view, it'd be absolutely disastrous. But for you guys and neutrals, it would be something else to talk about. There's something a bit more exciting. I do think there needs to be a revamp of the league, and obviously, and it's not Celtic's fault, because obviously they've got the wages, they've got the money, they outspend every team.
I'm going to jump in there, though.
No, but what I'm just meaning,
it's not just about the money, though.
No, but what I mean is, let me finish my point, right? I get it's not about the money, but I'm saying, like, obviously they've got a head start in terms of the money, right? So that gives them a head start. It's still up to other teams to apply pressure and to play an attractive brand of football. But it's not only just on the teams. It's not only on Celtic. It's not only on Rangers to get their finger out their backside and do something. It's on the actual governing body to make Scottish football an attractive prospect, that we can attract new sponsors, new teams.
Well, Can I give an example of that, Scott? I think you're spot on. Right, we're talking about, obviously, Dundee United going for third yesterday and falling off a cliff and losing 5-0 Celtic. Why was Aberdeen and Hibs not televised? Why is it a 3 o'clock kickoff? That's a massive game going for third, and obviously Aberdeen beat Hibs. Kevin Nisbet scoring the winner. That's a great. That's
more down to Sky rather than the SFA, in fairness.
I know, but they could drive the agenda a little bit better.
Yeah.
If you drive the agenda, the Premier League drive an agenda, and then the Sky and BT Sports pick up the baton for that. Like,
I totally agree, and I agree with most of what you're both saying. To be fair, like it's so as a Celtic fan, I obviously don't find it boring. I don't find winning trophies, winning leagues boring. Like I said at the top, I'm not taking any of this for granted because it's not going to be like this for the rest of my life, and there will come a day where the roles are reversed, and it'll be difficult to be a Celtic fan for a while. And I fully appreciate, Scott, that's it might not even just be boring for you; it might just be horrible. And I genuinely do empathise like that, because one day the tables will turn. I think this season, even Celtic fans felt a wee bit jaded at one point, though, and I think that's because the league was won. We called it in November.
we did.
But you're right to say that is not that's not Celtic's fault. And I think Rodgers spoke really well about this, because he came out after the Dundee United game and said, like, this Celtic success shouldn't be normalised. Like, and he's spot on, because they don't just like start a league season and assign the league to Celtic or assign the League Cup to Celtic. There's still 11 guys in the football pitch who have to go out and win games again and again and again, deal with immense fan pressure, deal with a crazy schedule of European games, and they've done it. Like, say what you like about Celtic and whether it's boring for the neutral, like what Cal McGregor and James Forrest have done in the last nearly decade and a half is ridiculous. We'll never see it again. Like, James Forrest is now the most decorated player in Celtic's history. That is a monumental. You laugh, but
I know, but it's
crazy that it's James Forrest. But
yeah, that's what I'm laughing.
He's been rewarded for his loyalty. Like, it's what Celtic are doing isn't normal right now, but it's being normalised, and it's been.
But is it loyalty, or is it just the fact that he doesn't actually fancy himself to challenge himself at a higher level of league?
Regardless, he's stayed with Celtic and he's winning trophies and he's contributing. And I just, to stick up for my own club a little bit, like, I totally appreciate that, from the outsider, for the neutral, it's the same as when, it's like when the Champions League final Real Madrid are playing, I'm kind of like, oh, well, Real are going to win it. So I understand the feeling, but, and the grass is green on my side of the fence just now, and I'm enjoying it, and I appreciate where yous are coming from. But I think sometimes it is important. Like, look at the Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls era. Like, people look back at that now and go, like, look at that sporting dominance. That is ridiculous.
I didn't do it. They didn't do it for. Was it 14 or 15 years now? 13 or 14 years.
Yeah, I know, but
and all the domestic trophies as well. Like, I think that's the killer. The domestic trophies as well. It's just like Rangers aren't even picking up Scottish Cup victories or.
That's it, and that's why I welcome the Rangers takeover. To be honest, I hope it happens, because I hope that Celtic are made to work even harder to win these. But you do still have to go out and win games of football, and it's not easy going out and winning games of football 5-6-0. Like, no matter who you are, so it's the mentality is incredible. Like, Cal McGregor have never, touch wood, ahead of Aberdeen game, Cal McGregor has never lost a final he's played in. That's not just a financial advantage; that is a mentality.
But we've said it before. He's key to Celtic.
He's absolutely. And see, when Cal McGregor stops playing for Celtic or gets past it, this whole thing might fall.
Do you think he's got another season at that level?
Yeah. I think we've got a couple more seasons of Cal McGregor.
I think he did the right thing, retiring from international football. That's probably what saved his the league.
Yeah, and not without contributing first to Scotland.
That's not what I'm saying. I just the point is that can he continue at that level? But he probably could for another couple of years.
I just wanted to say my piece on this, because I do and even Celtic fans, were jaded, particularly after losing to Rangers 3-2, because you could tell that the players, were finding it hard to conjure up reasons to keep going at it, keep going. And I think that, the defeat to Rangers was a bit of a wake-up call. And then obviously we lose to St Johnstone. Rodgers comes out and tears the players apart after the game, saying this is not what we do here. It's not as if they've just won the league and then coasted. The response the last few weeks, I think, has been showing you what Celtic are all about.
I do think it's probably aided by the fact that their nearest challengers are an absolute basket case.
Of course it is.
And aren't consistent. Do you mean, it'd be interesting to see if say we were just up there and it was like a point or two, and it would be interesting to see the mentality then of this group of players would it be able to, that dip of form you mentioned after the
exactly. Well, you made that point already, Scotty. Like, you've won enough, derbies now to have, like, if you'd been more consistent the rest of the season, it probably could have gone to the final day.
But I just think, like, there's a lot of factors in why it's getting boring. It's not just as simple of Celtic hoovering up every trophy. It is a lot of things.
The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, right? Like, Celtic have an advantage,
Absolutely.
but you still have to go out and
you
win
still
it. And I do think that's been, like Roger said, I think that has been normalised and taken for granted a bit. And it's kudos to Celtic for keeping on going.
Yeah. Listen, on the flip point of view, when Celtic have been doing this, Rangers have had very successful European campaigns. So yeah, you can spin it both ways, and like you said there, Pat, it's 43 major honours for Celtic since 2000. 11 of them have been under Brendan Rodgers, and as you said there, James Forrest now holds 26 of them, making him the most successful player in the club's history, which is 26.
Rodgers is now also the most successful living Celtic manager.
That's crazy. Do you think? I'll start with Forrest and then we'll move on to Rodgers. Do you think James Forrest will be, and I know he's already a legend, but held up in the highest regard once he has retired?
It's such a weird one. Can I imagine a statue of James Forrest? No. But does he probably deserve one? Yes, in a weird way.
Will there be a coat hanger? Just
get like a group. Just get like a.
It's such an odd one because I don't think he's ever been anyone's favourite Celtic player, but that, again, in a way, I just think that makes it even more incredible that he's stuck around. Like, say someone like Francesco Totti, who's still an absolute legend for Roma and stuck around for ages, one club man, but he was always everyone's favourite player the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Forrest has sort of been the unsung hero all this time, and he's been this ever present in the changing room through the most successful period in the club's history. So you just kind of think, well, of course he deserves to be remembered.
I think a lot of that's also personality as well, though, isn't it? You don't really hear him speak a lot or
at all,
really. It's not like a James Milner. Do you know what I mean? Like, James Milner's maybe not the most popular player in like Liverpool or Man City, but you heard him speak, and yeah, that carries in esteem.
I think we're gonna know how important McGregor and Forrest were when they're gone. And
absolutely. Well, KT's coming back, which I think's massive.
He'll be the next captain. I thought 100%. But you just think
he's got one good season in it.
You wonder where the succession planning is. 5 or 6 years when we don't have a KT or a Forrest or a McGregor.
You've got Engels.
Who carries the can? Where's that? Where's the Glasgow lad that knows what it's all about and has been there the whole time? We're gonna have to find another one.
Can I just add to that, because that's quite an important point. Like what you've said there, you've said the Glasgow lads, right? That's something I think has been missing. You ask Rangers fans, that's something that's been missing from our side for too long. Like, enough Scottish lads in the team that know the league, that know the demands of the league.
They've got to be good enough, Scotty, though.
No. I know we've had it, but what I'm meaning is,
like, James Forrest and Callum McGregor are brilliant players.
They're brilliant player. But what I'm meaning is, we don't have I think Rangers have turned their nose up at too many of these young lads coming through Scottish football for too long.
But I do. We had a conversation to start this podcast. Billy Gilmore came through. You weren't an attractive enough proposition for people like Billy Gilmore.
No, we didn't give him an opportunity, mate. There was
he was 16.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We don't create the opportunities for these players to actually get a chance to stick about.
I think he'd have been away anyway. He would
have been, but like
Ben Doak leaving to go to.
Yeah, but it's like Rory Wilson. Right, we had Rory Wilson.
Rory Wilson's a good example. Yeah.
Yeah, and then we've got this other lad, Oliver Goodbrand, that's getting to. He's 16 years old and just about on the cusp of about to sign a professional contract with Rangers. But Newcastle are sniffing about to go and sign him. And it's what my point is, like, we don't have a pathway to say to these lads, come and prove, like, you're in the team. It's like, take Barry, for example, right now. Like, he's playing Bajrami. We've seen what Bajrami can offer or can't offer. There's a boy, Finlay Curtis, that's sitting on the bench. He's just signed a new deal and he's played 5 minutes of football.
Speaking of Barry.
So, yeah. But that's...
Speaking of Barry. How's the Barry bubble doing, Scott?
Well, it's well and truly bust, isn't it? So,
Is it?
I think so. I don't think he's not going to get a job. Mate. He's not going to get a job.
I think he knows that now, though. Based on his interview,
yeah.
What did you make of the interview, Scotty?
No issues with it. No issues with it whatsoever. Like, he's right with how I think he's had a bit of naivety. I think a few of the managers before have had naivety where they've come out and said, like Clement, for example, said, the Rangers team under Beale was not fit, was not this, was not that, and then goes out and does the exact same thing, the exact same group of players, doesn't change it, and then doesn't learn his lesson, continues to play the same people. Barry's come in and said he's watched Clermont for nearly 2 years, and then he picks the same players that Clermont's not got a tune out of, and it's like,
I think that tells you so much. I think that tells you so much about the squad and the dressing room.
It tells you everything about
mentality.
the dressing room. Yeah, absolutely. But at the same time, like, okay, I understand why maybe at the beginning was choosing these elder, like, the kind of more experienced players of the squad. But what's the point now? He's right. What is the point? Like, so why don't you? You know you're not going to get the job. Why not prepare? He says he's a Rangers man. He wants to help the club. So why not give the likes of Xander Hutton, who's been in and around the squad all season, Bailey Rice, why not give them a chance now to actually perform and see what they do? You never know. They might be good for the next 5 games. It might be like worthwhile sticking about.
That might be the best point you've ever made in this pod, Scotty.
It's also, do you know what? It's a little bit similar. Really rogue example, this, by the way. But do you remember? It was Tim Sherwood that actually gave Harry Kane a chance. Harry Kane Harry Kane had, like, if you look at Harry Kane's loan records, shocking. Like, you would never ever think he was going to make it as a footballer. And Tim Sherwood obviously seen a bit of mentality in him, put him in the team, and he's gone on to be England's best ever striker, Tottenham's record goal scorer, just about to win the Bundesliga. Like,
Ronnie
you never know.
Gave 17-year-old Kieran Tierney his debut.
Yeah. Like, sometimes players can surprise you. So I do take your point to an extent, Scotty, but they've still got to be good enough. And also, can I just say, they've also got to want it enough. Like, I think there's sometimes in Scottish football this thing where it's like, oh, he's a young Glasgow lad, so he must care more. I don't think that is always true. Like, I think sometimes that maybe these youth players do get too easy at a youth level.
The difference this time, Steve, is that Rangers literally now have secured second place. They can't win the league, and so there really is nothing. Yeah. It's not going to make a difference in the history books how many points they got, so why would you not?
Yeah, and the thing is, we've seen
Robert from next week in the derby, I suppose.
But we've seen
maybe a great chance. So, like, if you really believe in that.
But like, I've said it to you boys all season. How, like, I've watched Robin proper all season. Not good enough for Rangers. Not suited to Scottish football, right?
Yeah,
so
he's not.
Why are we still playing? Why not move Tavernier's proven he can actually do a semi decent job at centre back, right? No. What I'm saying is, to give
3-year contract coming up.
But to give, like, a young lad like Xander Hutton, for example, a right back, give him an opportunity of starting right back with Dujon Sterling injured, right? Move Tavernier in the centre half with John Souttar and play 2 at the back, rather than. I just think we're seeing the same things over and over again. We're doing the same things that haven't worked for the past 3 years, and we're stifling our youth. And so no wonder they're itching to go as soon as they get an offer from a club down south. Yeah, okay, there's money and stuff, but
they've turned the winds against us.
Absolutely. Hat off to you, sir. That's your best joke yet. So well done.
Scotty, where do you think genuinely realistically, Rangers sit on the managerial merry-go-round in terms of attractiveness? So we were having a conversation of Scott Parker, just promoted from the Championship for the 3rd time, I believe.
Yep.
If you're a Scott Parker type manager now, would you take the Rangers job over a team like Sunderland, who are getting in the playoffs of the Championship?
I would say, I think you would. I if I was a manager and get an opportunity to try and ply my trade in the Champions League, win a trophy, compete for like silverware, have a chance to be at an established, like club like Rangers. Okay, despite the problems we've had over the last couple of years, still an institution of football.
Especially if the takeover happens as well.
Yeah, and I was just about to get to that. Like, this takeover is quite exciting. There's a lot of, like, positive news and feeling about Ibrox right now. So why would you not want to jump at a chance with a new era, new board, new direction, new structure? You've got you've got access to get into Champions League or European football. If you're a manager who's managing Sunderland, for example, you might not have that opportunity for European football for at least 10 years.
Football should be about trying to win trophies, though, shouldn't it?
It should. But listen, I think the average time of a manager is less than 2 years now, so it's also about, like, having a good structure, earning a good wage, because you might not be managing by the age of 50.
No, that's true.
Part of the reason I asked the question is that and I thought that maybe be some of your points, Scotty, but that's what Brendan Rodgers has done this season. Would Brendan Rodgers get a Premier League job?
But I think it depends.
If a West Ham are fourth bottom next season and they sack Graham Potter, where does Brendan Rodgers go on that list? Anywhere near the top of it?
It may not be at the top, but he's probably maybe in consideration because he's had previous experience at that level. But
I wonder if Rodgers is an interesting case in point, because you do wonder now if Rodgers went down to Leicester. He's also obviously had time at Liverpool,
won an FA Cup and stuff. Yeah.
Maybe he appreciates now that it's about building legs. Like, history books are going to remember you winning trophies. They're not going to remember you working under a really good board and finishing 10th,
7th.
And you've
talk about boring. That is boring to me.
And you've like survived in the Premier League for the 15th time, in your managerial career. Whereas,
I think a lot of it, like you've just said, a lot of it comes down to maybe where you are in your managerial journey. I think if you're early 40s and you're looking to build a career, I'm just wondering where Scottish football fits in on that, because I don't see it as an avenue anymore to be guaranteed being talked about for Premier League jobs in England. And that's why a lot of managers have come to Scotland in the past to win a league. Gerrard got the Aston Villa job, bombed it. Like, I think that's fair to say. And obviously Rodgers has plied his trade there. I wonder where it leaves managers now. And you have tried the other way. You have gone for foreign managers now.
3 points, right? Three things I think would automatically make Scottish football a much more attractive proposition. First off, is Rangers get bought over by the 49ers and it actually goes, they're not a basket case club anymore, right? Second would be league expansion to 16 teams.
I would love that.
I would love it so much, because I think the league's crying out for change.
Oh, it is.
And it would be a more attractive league, and I think you'd get a lot more fan buy-in. And the third would be the teams that make up the third and fourth places in the European spots don't shit the bed every time they play against Petrol Club from Moldova or some Häcken from Sweden or something. Just please, for the love of Hearts, what a joke.
Do your job. Do your job and get qualified.
Is that Petrol Club? Like,
by the way, is that all three of us nodding along to all 3 points here?
That's a first.
Yeah.
Well, that's an absolute first.
Episode 45, please. Well done.
Episode 45. Well, listen, at that point, I think we'll just leave it there and we'll move on to our final listener question, shall we? And it comes from Connor this week. And sorry to lower the tone for you again.
We just agreed, and from the high point of agreeing on a point.
Connor's question can only be you, Scott. I would like to find out if Rangers took advantage of B&Q's 3-for-2 offer on paint for the big stupid world's most successful club mural that will now have to be removed. Surely you can sell it to Celtic, mate. Stick it in your museum.
Well, to be honest, this is the plaque that was here for a long time. But to answer Connor's question, I think the board don't actually have the loyalty card for B&Q, so we probably played full price knowing the Rangers board.
Serious question, is it gone?
I would hope so.
Is it though?
I'm not sure, mate. I haven't had much time to go to Ibrox.
Well, I mean, you don't save money by just squeezing in second.
I think just remove it now.
I also appreciate Connor's point about the paint, but it's not as if you have the best record of paint painters. So,
no. If you want your face painted, don't come to Ibrox. If you want your wall painted, don't come to Ibrox. But to be honest, very, very funny joke, Connor. I hope you've enjoyed your beautiful Sunday.
Yeah, lads, it's the game at Ibrox happening next week, and I tell you what, I know we've won the league and run for a treble, but I do not feel good about that game.
Does it mean anything?
You'll be going up against Robin Proper, mate. You'll be fine.
See, usually, Steve, I like when Ange went there and we got beat 3-0. That was very much a dead rubber. But see, this time, within the context of Celtic having scraped the final, been beaten at Parkhead by Barry Ferguson and his Rangers Avengers, and then gone stuffed at Ibrox 3-0. I actually think Celtic have a lot to prove. If we go a season losing 3 games in a row to Rangers, that will for a lot of Celtic fans actually they would rather beat Rangers than win the treble.
Do you know what? It gives Rangers that final momentum to go into next season as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Rangers love winning the dead rubbers, but the problem is they've also been winning the non-dead rubbers recently. So,
I think it'll be a good. I think it'll be something Barry will want to go and say, I've beaten Celtic twice in the interim, but.
Has any Old Firm manager got a 100% record in Old Firm games?
Don't think so.
There you go, Barry. You're welcome.
So it'll be interesting to see if we do it. I just want the season to be over. I am on the countdown. We have 4 games to go until I can just close the laptop and cry.
Well, unfortunately, Scott, you've also got a couple of episodes to go.
But
you'll be glad to hear this one is over.
So I'll get to be in queue 3 for 2. That's what I'll get.
Scott, if it goes badly, just come back next season and call it the Boy and the Bear.
The mediator and the boy. That's going to be called. Sometimes invite the wee pal on,
And I'd like to wield my power and wrap that up there.
Yeah,
you have been listening to The Boy and the Bear. Email us your questions or complaints at theboyandthebear@gmail.com.
The boy and the what? The boy and
the boy and the bear.
The boy and the bear.
Yes, please. @gmail.com. And please do follow us on Instagram and TikTok at BoyBearPod. And we are on YouTube where these episodes are uploaded. It is at the Boy Bear Podcast.
Hail, hail, lads, and we've gone and got our 55.
Follow, and God bless America.
Oh, cheers, boys. Catch you next time.